Welcome to the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. This state has a lot to offer, and music is one of its greatest exports. On this podcast, we get to know songwriters through their stories and hear some of their music. Today, we're at Arlyn Studios, and my guest is Dave Scher. I'm Karl Anderson, and this is the Songwriters Across Texas podcast. He got his first guitar 10 years old, and his dad taught him chords to Last Kiss, a Pearl Jam cover originally done in 1961 by Wayne Cochran. He really could play along to records and figure out notes. He soaked up Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's a rare musician in Austin, Texas that's actually from there. Dave Scher is one of the exceptions. Ironically, though, it wasn't until he left Austin that he began to spread his musical wings. Dave was in Westlake High School Orchestra and Jazz Band, but he just wasn't connecting very well to his environment. He moved to Dallas with his grandmother and was given a private audition at Booker T. Washington High School. He was accepted. From there, it was on to Berkley. He studied and gigged throughout Boston, particularly at the Lizard Lounge in Cambridge, where he garnered his chops. When he moved back to Austin, he was a seasoned gunslinger. He has his own trio that plays regularly at the Saxon Pub, and he also plays with the lovely and talented Andrea Magee, the Belfast girl. Man, it's my great pleasure to welcome to the show Dave Scher.
Thank you, Karl.
Thank you for being here, Dave. We're going to kick right into a song right off the bat. What's the first song you want to play for?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome.
This is a song called Abby Jean.
Abby Jean.
Yeah, I hope you like it.
Me too. I'm sure I will.
Abby Jean's got another thing on her mind. She says something don't feel right, I know, 'cause it's hurting all the time. What we're gonna feel, what we're gonna do when tomorrow brings us something new. Can I watch it all pan out on a timeline? Her sweet perfume will always get her far, 'cause nobody wants to see a woman nursing a tall boy out of Wino Bar. Abby Jean's a pretty young thing, but she's through with what I'm going through. So catch me if you can, I'm on the run. What can I say but please? What can I do but believe? Oh, what you think about me and Abby Jean? Me and Abby Jean. I never once knew that a blind man couldn't see all the differences between being with you and being free. But if you're a witness, none of your business to say whether or not I didn't or did this. When did I ever let you get to know me? Whoa, whoa. What can I say but please? What can I do but believe? Oh, what you think about me? Yeah, oh, what you think about me? Oh, and Abby Jean. What can I say but please? What can I do but believe? Oh, what you think about me? Yeah, yeah, what you think about me? And I've ain't changed. Me and Andrea Magee. One and the same. Yeah, we're one and the same.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I try to make it sound like more than one person clapping.
You're doing pretty good.
I don't know if it's working
I think
or
you're doing
not.
quite well.
Wow, is that gorgeous?
Thank you.
Really, really nice. And I know you, like I really know you more of as a gunslinger. You know, like when I saw you playing, and I really only saw you like in the last year or so, right? Like I feel like that's about when we met. And I just couldn't believe I hadn't met you with the way you were playing. I was like, I know all the good guitar players. What happened? Super impressive. You grew up in Austin, right here in Austin, Texas.
That's right, yeah.
In the Rollingwood Zilker area, right?
Yeah, that's right. Which is, it's its own city, apparently.
It does, it right? It has a population sign, doesn't it?
It does. It's the city of Rollingwood, and I think if you stir up trouble and you get the cops to chase you in Austin and you just go into Rollingwood, maybe they can't follow you because it's out of their jurisdiction.
Is it true, though?
I don't know, but I intend on testing that theory.
I think you should. You went to the, Eanes Elementary and Hill Country Middle School. We're just shouting out a little bit. And Westlake, of course, you were in the jazz band and the orchestra. Music came to you earlier than that. I mean, it came to you pretty early, 10 years old.
10 years old is when guitar came to me. Mm-hmm. I think I started taking piano lessons at 7 years old. And I can't remember if it was by choice or if that was like, the thing that you do.
Like a school assignment almost?
No, just like, in families, it's time to take piano lessons. I took to it, and I'm very thankful that I started out on piano because I can read music because of it. I learned more about it further in school, but I had a heads up.
You had the start from taking piano because you had to learn how to read music.
That's right.
To play piano. Mm-hmm. It's not a thing you just pick your way through.
Right, yeah. But when I first started playing guitar, I didn't know how to read music on guitar. I didn't know how to translate that onto guitar, just piano.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Did it take a long time to figure out?
It's still.
I
still don't really know how.
There's so many musicians that don't know how to read music, but they're like the greatest musicians anyway, and it's just a tool, right?
Yeah. It's like a musical notepad. It's kind of useless. Well, in many aspects, especially in Austin,
because it's like you need someone to play to show me the part.
Yeah, I mean, in Austin, there's such a camaraderie with learning tunes or knowing a pretty, well-known encyclopedia of tunes or song lists that we all kind of learn them, through the years by ear or watching other people. If I had probably, played more in New York and gotten a gig in the Pit, playing for a musical,
right?
Reading would be far more important.
Yeah, for sure.
Application.
So you went. You're in there. You go to school. You're in Westlake, orchestra and jazz. At this point, you're already playing, and you're learning songs. Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page. These guys are talking to you.
Guitar heroes. Oh yeah.
And you can really play along, right? What did you say about the Eagles?
They were the first band that I kind of had an obsession with, and that was before I played guitar. That was probably what got me into. That's what made me kind of like aware of the guitar and like, oh, that's
I can see that that's cool. I can see that that's a cool sound.
Right.
And the vocal harmonies, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I heard Jimi Hendrix, I had no idea that the guitar could do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
There
Me
was some
too.
sounds that I didn't think were a guitar.
I told you I got Axis Bold as Love first. And
Oh,
you
goodness.
know, and it was one of the first records I ever bought. So I'm like 12 and I'm putting this thing on and it's, you know, there's a spaceship landing in my room.
That's right, yeah.
It's so great though. I'm so glad I got it that way. So when you're just not really clicking well at the high school, you're like, you're there, you're doing it, but you're like, man, this is not my groove.
Yeah. I was really into music, but no one was really into the music that I was into. So I couldn't connect with anybody that way,
Right.
you know. And you know, I don't want to talk bad, but a
No.
lot of the music program is at Westlake, they're really good on paper because they have lots of awards. And
Right.
that was kind of the lesson,
Right.
you know, to do well in state. You know,
Right, and that was I grew up in Darien, Connecticut, which is probably a lot like Westlake, just very academically driven, you know, sports, and you're trying to get to Yale and Harvard and all
most
that.
definitely. And I didn't play sports, and that was a big thing, obviously, with Westlake.
Right, yeah, exactly. They're pretty known for that.
Yeah.
But you were fortunate enough to have a grandmother in Dallas, and this is where it starts to get fun.
Oh yeah, real fun. Yeah, I think my parents were just really aware of how unhappy I was at Westlake, and they had heard about Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, HSPVA, and they had got me to audition, and they said, you know, the school said, you know, we'll let him audition, but it's very unlikely that he'll get in because we like to take freshmen, and I had already done 2 years at Westlake, so I was going to be a junior.
Right.
And I auditioned, and they accepted me. And I spent 2 years at Booker T. Washington, and those 2 years completely changed my life.
Wow.
I made actual, genuine friendships and connections with people that were kind of like-minded.
That's what you need, you know. And
especially at that age. That's what
I
you
had
need.
to leave my house too, really, because I wasn't the same thing. I was like, I need a different environment.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you did, though, and because the music's so good to you and good for us that you know how to do it, and that was the place that it helped solidify.
It did.
Was it easy to pick Berkeley next? Was that just like this is the next step?
It was easy in a sense that it was a popular school. It wasn't easy to imagine myself there, as it was a extremely expensive school to attend. But luckily, going to Booker T HSPVA, they had arranged an audition. It wasn't even an audition to get into Berkeley. It was just an audition for scholarship from Berkeley. So Berkeley staff were there. It was affiliated with Berkeley, but it wasn't for admission. It was just for scholarship. And I had gotten some scholarship that really helped.
Wow.
As I attended, I kept applying for more and more within the school. So by the time my fourth year in college, I had gone from a quarter to 3/4 scholarship.
Wow. Nice.
And that's still quite a bit out of pocket, but
Sure.
but I was really proud of that because, I mean, there were 1,600 guitar players at Berklee College of Music, and there wasn't a whole lot of reason to give a guitar player a full ride
Right.
or much.
It just wasn't really done.
Right. We had a guy on our floor at the dorms. We called him Tuba Phil, and he played tuba.
Tuba Phil.
And he wasn't bad. He played the tuba just fine, but he wasn't really extraordinary. However, it was him and one other tubist, and they had full rides because there were
Okay.
two of them, two tubists.
Tubers.
That's hard to say.
John Lennon said, "I'm an artist. Give me a tumor. Give me a tuber, and I'll make something out of it."
Yeah. That's right.
That was a little Jack Nicholson from The Departed. John Lennon.
I figured. That sounds right.
Neither hither nor thither. But I love that you were in Boston, in Berkeley, and then you
Speaking
start
of Departed.
gigging. Yeah, speaking of Departed, and you're gigging up there, and you start to gig while you're in school. I mean, it sounds like you were hustling so damn hard.
I was. I wasn't really hustling academically, but which was ironic because I'd been awarded this scholarship money to attend, and wasn't attending too many classes. But I was pretty focused on being a working musician in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And it worked out. You know, I played all over Cambridge and Boston, and I made several trips a year to New York City.
Where did you play in New York? Do you remember?
I do.
Because I lived in New York.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot at there was Rockwood Music Hall. And also, you know, at that point, it wasn't so much about like making sure that every gig was all that lucrative.
Sure.
It was more about gaining more and more experience. And I played a lot of jazz in Berkeley.
That's cool.
So I would sometimes go to New York to play a restaurant.
Nice.
Or a corporate event at the top of some building that, you know, it wasn't really, you probably hadn't been there.
Right. And but it's not necessarily the kind of gig you're dreaming about, but it's still a gig for people that you're getting paid for. And that's what, you know, that's what you were here to do.
For me, Rockwood Music Hall was more the type of gig that I was dreaming about.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And then that the place in Cambridge, the Lizard Lounge.
Oh, that was so cool.
Tell me a little bit about the Lizard Lounge so the kids know what that's like.
Well, it's underground. I mean, it's literally under the ground, and you go downstairs, and the stage is the floor. It's no taller. It's not raised up. The audience sits in a or almost a semicircle. It's more of, 3 out of 4 sides of a square, around the stage, and they're very close, and the whole relationship between the band and the audience was very intimate.
Cool.
It was very cool. And it kind of had a thing too. I'm trying to relate it to somewhere here in town. It's a little bit like the Saxon Pub, but like I said, a floor level stage. But it was there was nowhere for a musician to hide. There was
no back room
no.
Right. So you came in through the front. You walked up to the stage and set up. What types of bands were you playing in that room?
Songwriters that liked to feature their bands. So songwriters that would have pickers in their bands.
Pickers.
And gunslingers.
Yeah.
That would sing and write, that was their fun gig. When they weren't supporting another musician or something like that.
Right.
I never played there with my own thing. I never really did my own thing too actively until I came back to Austin.
Right. Right, I get that about you, and I really like having gunslingers on here. That their songwriting is their secondary thing.
Yeah.
We had Grissom on here, and that he's just one of my favorites, and he's a perfect example of that.
Too.
He's got several solo records, and they're great, but that's not his bread and butter. He gets to play at the sax, and he's like, I like it, but I really like being a gunslinger. You know, so I love that you're here. Let's go into another song.
Sure thing. Nobody around for miles, I think I'll take a walk. Nobody in store for smiles, I put my heart on lock. Down,
maybe it's time to leave. I've been wearing this thing on my sleeve. Somewhere a long time ago we failed to seal our fate. And somewhere along the way we failed to communicate. I don't mind so much, maybe a road trip, I bet, in a 79 Corvette. I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. Oh, I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. Yeah. Let's say you want to know more about me before the storm. And let's say that everybody wants to try and be reborn. Couldn't we all just get along? Maybe a road trip, I bet, in a 79 Corvette. Maybe it's time to leave. I've been wearing this thing on my sleeve for way too long. I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. Oh, I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. Oh, I'm alright with that. I know where I'm at. Yeah.
All right is right.
Thank you, Karl.
Your lyrics are crazy good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoy your writing style. How do you approach your writing style? How do songs come to you?
Well, I'm actually very bad with words.
No.
Like when it comes to conversing, I mean, I usually have pretty good ideas of how I want to talk.
Yeah.
And every now and then they get executed just fine. But a lot of times I'm known to kind of search for a word or take a long time. And I'm the same way with lyrics. So I start with a language that I feel like I know more, which is harmony, melody, and rhythm of music. And I can just emote and express myself more genuinely that way. So I'll think of something that's kind of, at the time, an instrumental tune. And, just really feel what that is as far as a story or as far as an idea or concept.
Right.
Yeah. And then I just kind of use my vocabulary.
You use your words.
Yeah.
Use your words,
Use
Dave.
your words.
But it's sort of, though, that's, you're fielding it, right? I mean, like, it comes through the song that you hear, and you create it, and then you hear the story, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I love how creativity works. It's very hard to put into words where it comes from. Stevie Ray said they asked him, where do you get your ideas for your songs or whatever? He goes, well, I just reach up and pluck them out.
From inspiration.
Yeah, which is, I think, a really good way to put it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You have a cool professional life and as a musician. And so when you got back to Austin, tell me about how it kicked off when you got back here.
I actually played very often on 6th Street, on 36th, and I would. I slowly got into leading my own namesake trio,
Yes.
but I started off by playing guitar and bass and sometimes drums for other blues artists downtown.
Okay.
And that was a really cool grind because the gigs were never really shorter than 4 hours.
Wow.
And there was a fella I used to play with a lot. I guess you could say I cut my teeth with, named JT Coldfire, and God rest his soul. We would do 4-hour gigs and wouldn't take a break.
Wow.
But it wasn't really like, cracking a whip or anything. He'd just be like, you need a piss? All right, go piss. Then come right back.
Right.
Because he also wasn't really that concerned with, I guess,
The show
the
itself.
show, how it flowed, but it still flowed.
Mm-hmm.
He was like Austin's Freddie King, in my opinion.
Wow.
He was just kind of a showstopper. He was an excellent player and singer, but he was an excellent performer, and he taught me a lot. And he didn't. I don't know if he even knew it. He did. It was just something where he'd show up to all the blues jams, figure out who's new in town, and be like, "You're new? You want to play in my band?"
Wow. So JT Coldfire was friends with Doug Renshaw, who used to be co-owners of Songwriters Across Texas with Bruce and Jen. And he passed away during COVID times, but he really loved JT, and those guys were pals. And so that's a neat tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
That's cool. Anybody, like, how else did the scene pull you in? The players, were you landing in spectacular gigs?
I think no. I mean, my I don't really have much of a claim to fame. I mean, my two claims would be for a month and a half, I think, I played guitar with Billy Joe Shaver.
Cool.
And
very excellent.
And for Eric Johnson's last tour, I was a utility guy in his band, in his touring band.
Attaboy.
And COVID ended that, so that was 2020 from New Year's Day to March 13th.
Right. Was that cool?
That was incredible. That was the most fantastic thing I've done in my life.
Nice.
And on many levels, because I mean, he's an enormous influence of mine. He's a guitar god, world known, and he also has just non-existent ego.
Yes.
There's just none. We would be rehearsing the show, and he'd be like, he gave me a tune to sing lead on. It was Mother Nature's Son by the Beatles. And, he'd stop the tune and be like, let's try it again, but I want you to sing this as if this was your trio doing this tune. This is your moment, you gotta, and then other tunes where it would be, he'd play piano, but the song on the record was some signature Eric Johnson guitar parts, and I had to play them.
Wow.
And he had me play them because he has no ego.
That's crazy cool.
It was incredible.
I love to hear that story. See, I feel like there's a lot more of that in the future for you, but really right now, besides your trio, you're with Andrea Magee in her band, and you guys actually are a couple, right?
Yeah.
I was glad I was right about that. So that would have been funny to say if you
were
weren't. So,
yeah, I'm totally hers.
How did y'all get together and get into the band and all that, and where are you at now? Because we've had Andrea on, but I don't have your side of the story.
We met at the Don's Depot, and I saw Beetroot Revival playing. And I'd been going to Don's since I was allowed to since I was 21. Before that, I'd heard about it, and I'd go with family or friends to Art's Rib House, and they'd be like, "We're gonna head to Don's after this," and I'd want to go so bad, and I couldn't because I was a teenager. I turned 21. I started going to Don's on a Monday, and because Chris Gage would play piano and sing, and he's one of the most brilliant guitar players in town too. He'd have his guitar on a stand, plugged in, ready to go, with a mic and a stool. So he had people come in and sit in on a tune or 3 or 4 tunes, and I'd go and he'd call me up for tunes, and it was just fun. He'd call Beetroot Revival up for tunes, and that's how we met, was at Don's on a Monday night. And so we met in a introductions of 2 musicians. I met Andrea and Ben at the same time.
Right.
And I believe when I met them, they were a couple.
Uh-huh.
And when they weren't, I swooped in.
Well done, lad.
Thank you.
You guys are a great couple, and you sound excellent with her, too. Like, I really feel like that record's got a big chance of going places.
I do, too.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're in there with her doing that. It's going to be fun to watch how
I'm
that
very
unfolds.
fortunate to be able to be in there with her. She's an incredible writer,
Yeah.
and she's got an idea every minute.
She's so talented.
She's a vibrant, creative soul. And yeah, I mean, I consider myself to be a creative person, but I, like a lot of creative people, I have, what are they called? Not dead spots, like, blocks.
Dry spills.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I've had plenty of them.
Andrea never has a block, like a creative block, like writer's block, but not just writing songs. I mean, creating content, creating images, videos.
Mm-hmm.
She's constantly able to produce.
Yeah.
And I admire that about her.
I sure do too, and I sure have a lot of well wishes for you guys both.
Thank you.
We're really getting to the end here,
All right.
and I'm gonna ask you very nicely to go to the piano and play that third song, because we've got Bobby Nelson's piano here.
This is a song called One-Way Street Romance.
Only way to save yourself from a street palm reader feeling what you felt is to say no thanks, I'm doing just fine. Got a heart of gold in this cold, cold mine. I could walk these streets in a grinning kind of way, and tell you everything that you need to know to get through the day. But I'd rather sit here next to this old man. At least he's seen it all and still does what he can. I just won't pick up the phone. It's a sure enough way to be alone. Someone's gotta let her know. She never had a chance. On a one-way street romance. You've gone through life when he told me once before. You can't let somebody in behind closed doors. I said thanks, I'm doing just fine. Said it's nothing new, I know what to do when I'm in that bind. Well, it's not much of a joke, but still he laughed. He shook his head and he walked away, but not too fast. There's a saying always wanting more. But I think I might have tried to write that one before. I just won't pick up the phone. It's a sure enough way to be alone. Someone's gotta let her know. She never had a chance. On a one-way street romance. Just wanna go back home. I'm tired of feeling so alone. Well, I used to do this on my own. Back when we would dance, we would dance. Phone. It's a sure enough way to be someone. Now I've gotta let her know. She always had a chance. On a two-way street romance. always had a chance.
So lovely. The great Dave Scher, ladies and gentlemen. Please hit like and subscribe on your buttons if you are watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this and want to watch it on YouTube, go to the YouTube and go to Songwriters Across Texas.
Please like and subscribe.
Thanks again, Dave Scher.
Thank you.
All right.